Alright, let's look at section 22.2, and here we're going to be looking at minerals. Obviously, our Earth is made up of rocks and minerals, and so let's talk a little bit about what a mineral is and maybe some of the different characteristics of it. Okay? So first of all, let's identify what we mean by a mineral. You must know that when we say a mineral basically is a solid, that's one thing, and it is inorganic, that's a second thing, meaning it does not come from living organisms. 3, it occurs naturally in Earth, in our world, meaning it's not made in a lab. And number 4, it has a definite structure or chemical composition. Those 4 things you must know when we define what a mineral is. It's a solid, it's not living or from living organisms, it is naturally occurring, it occurs in nature, and it's not made by man or in a lab, and it has a definite structure and chemical composition. Okay? That's what we mean by a mineral. Now, a rock is a solid combination of minerals. So you have a whole bunch of minerals together, and they're pressed together because of high pressure and temperature. Now you've got a rock. But a mineral is a specific crystalline structure, solid, inorganic, naturally occurring. Okay? You looked at lots of examples as we looked at that box of minerals, and you kind of tested them and played with them and were able to be exposed to them. Okay? Alright. Let's look at the properties of minerals. Well, minerals have different properties, and the properties that you want to look at and understand, and by the way, we use these properties so that we can identify what the minerals are and that there are different minerals, and the ones that you want to be aware of are these. The crystal structure, so you might look really closely like under a magnifying glass or in a microscope to look and analyze the crystal structure. Color, streak, we'll talk about this, luster, density, hardness, fracture, and cleavage. You need to know what all of those are and that these are all used to identify minerals. So let's go through them very quickly. The crystal structure is just basically the arrangement of the particles that make up the mineral. Alright, it is the atoms, how are they arranged, in what shape, and in what structure. Alright. Color. Now color is not a distinguishing feature, so you might have one mineral that has different colors. One specific mineral can be in different colors, or different minerals can have the same color, but it is one of the properties that we look at. It's not a conclusive one, but it's one of them. So you look at the color. Streak. Streak is basically if you were to take and rub that mineral across the plate and turn it into powder, what would be the color of the powder? And it's not always necessarily the same as the color of the mineral itself. So streak is when you scratch that or you rub that across something, what is going to be the color of that streak? As you can see here, the color of the mineral is a little bit different than the color of the streak itself. Okay? Next thing is luster. Luster basically is how it shines or how it reflects light. So some are going to be very shiny and lustery, others are going to be a little more opaque or poor in reflecting light. Okay? Basically, how shiny is it? Density. Density, as you know, is mass over volume. So mass over volume is a measurement that is looking at how closely packed together are the particles. Density. Then we have hardness. Hardness is if you were to scratch one mineral against the other one, which one is going to give way? Which one is going to basically get scratched? And here is a diagram on the hardness scale. This is Mohs hardness scale, 10 being diamond, the hardest mineral that we know of, and number 1 being talc. You should know that talc is one of the softest minerals, diamond is one of the hardest ones, and then there's a bunch in between. Okay? Talc would be like, talcum powder. A diamond obviously can be used for in a blade if you want to cut through other rock. This Mohs hardness scale helps us kind of classify the different minerals by their hardness. Hardness is the resistance of a mineral to scratching. Does it get scratched or does it not get scratched? Okay? You can scratch minerals against each other, or you can take and try to scratch them against something that has a known hardness. Like if you were to take these minerals and try to scratch glass with them and see does it scratch the glass or not. Okay? You might use glass to compare because they know the hardness of that, and then you can compare either it's harder than glass or softer than glass. Okay? Fracture and cleavage. Basically, both of these are how the mineral breaks. So fracture is how the mineral breaks apart. Does it break clean? Does it break jagged? So for example, it says quartz here, when it's broken, as a curved shell-shaped fracture. Some of the breaks are uneven, some of them are clean. All right? They're going to break along and follow the structure that is already there inside of the mineral. Okay? The interior arrangement of the atoms is going to determine how it breaks and how it creates its fracture. Okay? Cleavage is a type of fracture. Notice these are connected. It's a type of break in which the minerals tend to split along regular, well-defined plates, flat surfaces. And that means the bonds are weak there, so that's going to cause some clean break, a clean break. Okay? So both of these have to do with how the mineral breaks apart. There are some other properties, and we might as well mention them here. If you were to test the mineral with acid and it reacts, that might mean that there is an element in there that reacts with acid, and certain minerals do react with acid, others don't, so that might be an indication. Okay. Also, we might test for magnetism. We might test it with a magnet to see if there's magnetic properties inside of the mineral. The other thing is they might give off light. They might give off visible light when held under excuse me, when they're held under ultraviolet light. Or if you rub them with a piece of metal, some of them might produce a little spark. Okay? So there are other less known properties that can be used as well. They might even have some electrical properties. So when they become electrically charged, they heat up. So just be aware of these other types of properties, even though there may be less known. All right? So all of 22.2 was just all about minerals and their properties. So you need to know that.